You've probably heard of Robert Frost's Stopping by Woods on a Snowy Evening. It seems so simple, right? Kind of like a pretty picture on a Christmas card. But what if it's not just a poem about nature? What if it's actually one of the most profound puzzles about duty, desire, and the quiet, seductive pull of just giving up? All of that packed into just 16 lines. So let's just dive right in with a pretty big question. Could this be the most famous poem ever written about the temptation to just stop, to just let it all go? That internal battle, the one between the urge to surrender and the strength to push on? That is exactly what we're going to unpack here. I want you to just imagine this for a second. You're completely alone. It's the darkest evening of the year. The entire world has gone silent, except for the soft sound of wind and falling snow. And for just one moment, you pause. What happens in that pause? What is that moment of hesitation all about? Because that moment, that's where the whole poem lives and breathes. To really get what we're talking about, I think we first need to just experience the poem together. I'm going to read it all the way through. As I do, try to feel that quiet, the cold, and that growing conflict inside the speaker's head. Whose woods these are, I think I know. His house is in the village, though. He will not see me stop in here to watch his woods fill up with snow. My little horse must think it queer to stop without a farmhouse near, between the woods and frozen lake, the darkest evening of the year. He gives his harness bells a shake to ask if there is some mistake. The only other sounds the sweep of easy wind and downy flake. The woods are lovely, dark, and deep, but I have promises to keep, and miles to go before I sleep, and miles to go before I sleep. Okay, that feeling of being pulled, right? That tension isn't an accident. It's not just in the words, it's literally built into the bones of the poem. To really understand the conflict, we have to look at how Frost, like a master architect, crafted it right into the structure. So Frost uses this really clever form called the rubaiyat stanza. Check out the rhyme scheme. A-A-B-A. See how that third line of each stanza, the B line, reaches over and sets the rhyme for the next one? It creates this incredible chain effect, literally pulling you forward from one thought to the next. It's a structure that refuses to let you stop, just like the speaker's own obligations are pulling him forward. And it's not just the rhymes. Listen to the beat. Da-dum, 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 da-dum. Whose woods these are, I think I know. It's called iambic tetrameter. It's not a big, dramatic rhythm. It's quiet. It's steady. It's almost hypnotic. It feels like the sound of the horse plodding through the snow, or the quiet, constant fall of the flakes. It just pulls you into this thoughtful, trance-like state. All right, so now that we see how Frost builds the tension, let's get to the core of it. What does it all mean? Because this isn't just about a traveler taking a break. No, this is a symbolic landscape, a battleground for two powerful opposing forces. On one side, you have the woods. They're lovely, dark, and deep. They represent this wild, untamed, chaotic beauty, a very seductive promise of escape. And on the other side, you have the harness, the road, the journey itself. That's the structured, human world of duty and promises. The entire poem just hangs in the balance, right there between these two things. So let's really break down the symbols. The woods, they're not just trees. They stand for the ultimate temptation of oblivion, maybe even death, a complete withdrawal from all responsibility. Then you have the horse. The horse is like the voice of reason, of society, the part that thinks, hey, this is weird, we shouldn't be stopping here. And those harness bells, that's the little jolt back to reality, the alarm clock. And of course, the promises are those duties we place on ourselves. And sleep, well, it's not just about being tired, it's the final escape. Now, this whole struggle, a traveler on a long journey, tempted by some beautiful form of oblivion, this is not a new story, not by a long shot. Frost is tapping into a conflict that is ancient, something that has echoed through our myths for thousands of years. Just think about Odysseus from Homer's Odyssey. He had to literally tie himself to a mast to resist the beautiful song of the sirens, a song that promised rest but would lead him to his death. Well, the woods in Frost's poem are a kind of siren. But their lure isn't a sound, it's silence. A beautiful, deep, promising silence that offers the exact same thing, rest and a chance to forget all your duties. The parallels here are just striking.
The sirens are the woods, the beautiful, deadly temptation. The ship that has to keep sailing is the horse, pulling the speaker forward. And Ithaca, the home that Odysseus is fighting to get back to, for our speaker, that's his promises. It's the same timeless story of a hero resisting a tempting end to fulfill a greater duty.
And this connection just brilliantly explains that final, heavy meaning of sleep. In Greek mythology, there was the river Lethe in the underworld. If you drank its water, you'd forget your entire past. So when Frost writes, "and miles to go before I sleep," he's elevating sleep way beyond just physical rest. It becomes this mythic symbol for the total annihilation of memory, identity, and responsibility. So here's the crucial point. The poem is not about giving in to the temptation. Its real power comes from confronting that temptation head-on and making a conscious choice. The climax isn't how beautiful the woods are, it's the speaker's decision to turn away from them. That short stop is not a moment of weakness. It's a moment of deep ethical reflection. The speaker looks at the beauty of escape, acknowledges it, and then chooses the harder path of his self-imposed promises. This is where he finds his meaning, not in escaping life, but in consciously choosing to continue his duty. And repeating that final line, that's not just for effect. It's like a mantra. It's him affirming his own resolve. He says it once, and you think of the literal journey, the miles he has to travel through the snow. But then he says it a second time, and you realize he's talking about the journey of life itself. He's acknowledging his exhaustion, yes, but he's choosing duty. He's choosing to keep going. And in the end, that's what Frost leaves us with. It becomes a reflection of our own lives. We all have our own lovely, dark, and deep woods, don't we? Those temptations to stop, to rest, to just let go. So the poem's final question isn't really for the speaker, it's for us. What are the promises that keep you on the road?